welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, and I'm back with another blindside creation. This one was pattern 113036, and I believe this was sent to me from Minute Craft as a way to somehow torment me, because honestly, I did not have fun making this bracelet at all. There comes a point when there are so many zigzags in a bracelet that it becomes so difficult that you pretty much have to come at it one row at a time. There's no segment knotting, there's no anything other than just trying to get through the whole pattern, and that's what this was. This one, for a 12 string bracelet, took me 72 minutes of working on it. That's not including the getting the strings lined up at the beginning or the kumi or any of that. 72 minutes, which you might know that normally I can get a 12 string bracelet out in about an hour. So why 12 minutes more? Well, it's just that finicky. And one of the things that added to it, which I'm really glad I did, was the fact that when it gets to the halfway point, I flipped it. And it turns out, like, as I was going, as most of the stuff was going to the right, it was sort of okay, right? But when it gets flipped, it ends up working off to the left, and that, well, for me, made it harder still. So if you're going to try the pattern, maybe stick to the original, just let it keep going to the right. You'll probably find it easier, I guess. Not necessarily that easy though. I mean, it's just a lot of left rights and right lefts, and yeah, it's confusing at best. I did manage to get through it. It's okay. It's a interesting looking bracelet. Mandy said that if Rainbow Brite wore a bracelet, this was going to be it, because of how it's sort of rainbowy, and it has this white string that runs along the outside. Again, running a color on the outside of the bracelet, not my thing. I don't do bracelets like that. I've never, like, ooh, you know what this one needs? A couple more knots and come off to the sides or whatever. It's tedious. It makes it a little bit lumpy on the outside. All the zigzags make it so that way if you hold it to the light, there's a lot of light coming through, but that's the nature of those knots. It's not you're doing something wrong. That's the nature of when you do a zigzag knot. The way that it spaces where the strings go is different than just doing, say, a candy stripe. So yeah, if you're wondering why that is, it is the knot itself. It's not your fault. So but that said, man, wow, I sped this up a lot because I figured I probably wouldn't have a whole lot to talk about, other than complaining about how much I really did not enjoy myself. The 4 white dots in the middle of each one of these little segments was a nice, easy way to see where I was at any point during its creation, to make sure that I didn't like overdo a segment or anything. So that was a kind of a nice thing out of it, because it's so repetitive. So whatever, it would be potentially easy to get it wrong. But yeah, the 4 dots, I could see, okay, I've reached that far. Now it goes into the next area. Yeah, and I'm really grateful that I did not do this on a live stream. This is one of the few times where I made a bracelet and I wasn't streaming it. And that's probably good, because I'd have probably been whinging about it the whole time and just saying how much I hated it, because I just did. I really did. Make a few mistakes here and there where, especially when it's going the other direction, I kept forgetting that I had to get the last little zigzag or something there. There was a few mistakes. Caught them pretty quickly, but it was still a mistake nonetheless. The strings get used pretty evenly. I had no problem with running out at the end or anything. The strings were all just fine. So again, of course, though, I'm cutting them in third length, so pretty much bulletproof for, you know, most bracelets anyways. So, you know, if you've been a fan of the channel for any length of time, you will know that I cut my string in thirds. It just makes the whole thing easier. I don't have to worry, basically. So here it's coming into the middle area, and in some ways I don't know. I feel like maybe I could have done something differently about it, but the way the pattern kind of ran, in order to flip it, there was really no choice. Because the hot colors were on the right, the cold colors were on the left. There was no flip it and flip it again kind of thing, because it didn't have that kind of symmetry. So it kind of is what it is. I'm not sure that flipping it necessarily made it any really more interesting. But what it did do was it gave me a chance to work it in the opposite direction. And like I said, for me, that was very uncomfortable. Obviously, I think because well, it's not obvious, I guess. Because I started with the right hand knot and got really used to that when I first started, and doing a lot of candy stripes, perhaps that knot is more favorable to me. But I don't know, going to the left, it just seems harder. You don't get to hold the strings the same way. There's a lot of little reasons why that might be a thing, but yeah, going the opposite direction just was not the same for me, not at all. Hang on, we're past the halfway point. This video is going to end rather abruptly here, so let me just thank my YouTube members for making this possible. It's their help that helps me to have the string to be able to do all this and try crazy patterns that I would never have thought of doing before. And yeah, I'm not even sure if this one is likely to sell. It's not great. It's a little wonky in places, but that's, I think, just because it massively changed directions here or there. You suddenly had, you know, a candy stripe started, and then yeah, I don't know. It's not bad. It's not real bad. I'm just not sure anybody's gonna want it. And yeah, it's nice to have the YouTube members than to have to worry about trying to sell all these bracelets. For some reason, unless I'm actually live and in person, the shop itself just doesn't do well. When I have gone to like the actual like places where I set up, yeah, way better. It's way more fun. Yep, see, there was a mistake. But yeah, there's not much else I can really say about it. Like I said, it might have gone better, a little bit better, to kept the whole thing kind of where the candy stripes moved to the right. But I don't know. I mean, trying it the other way just for the knowledge of it makes sense to me. It's not, my channel isn't about always what's easiest or what's, you know, the fastest or anything. It's about learning what kind of differences happen as a result of trying new things. Sometimes it's in the form of bags, sometimes it's in the form of just a simple bracelet. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to share with you my experiences, because I'm probably making more stuff and experimenting more than most people do, right? I mean, if you're just a random average bracelet maker, you might not even stumble into this kind of pattern, or maybe you see the thumbnail and say, wow, that looks really cool, I'd like to try it. But before you do, you can take a minute to find out how much I was just not enjoying this. And maybe it influences you and you decide to try something else a little bit easier, a little different, you know. Maybe you're motivated. Maybe you see it and hear like how much I didn't enjoy myself, and you're thinking, well, gosh, that makes me want to try it even more. Well, kudos to you if you make it. I'd love to see what you made. You can share it over on Discord. We have a whole section dedicated in Discord for just such things. And kudos to you for really wanting to try something that's, you know, a little bit more difficult. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I think there's not a lot of this left. Yeah, this is sort of coming into the last segment. That white string is already off the end. Hopefully you appreciate the effort here. I really did try something new and different, and I think I knew going in just from the pattern making of this one, I knew that I was probably not going to enjoy it. And I did my best to try to find the straightest, easiest way of accomplishing it. And as you can see, it's just by just going in rows, whatever it needs to do in one row at a time. That's what I did. And did it help me from making mistakes? A bit, yeah, absolutely. What do I want to do it some more? No, thank you. Oh, see another mistake. Yeah, I started moving the orange first and I didn't get the purple on the edge there. That was all. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. And yeah, as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.